please introduce yourself, yeah, and
Christof
tell us
Kurzmann.
what instrument you're playing.
I play the electronics. Sometimes I also play saxophone, and I sing.
I play. My name is Lotte Anker. Did you say your name? Yeah, sorry. And I play saxophones. And I sing a lot at home.
I'm Jošt, Drašler. I play bass and occasionally I sing. And occasionally I also play electric bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your performance tonight, was it poorly improvised, or did you have any pre-thought components or things?
Our concert was improvised. Purely. So no pre-thoughts. But of course you are working with your material. So I wouldn't call it prepared, because it's not, but of course I am constantly developing.
In the way that Derek Bailey said, improvisation is its preparation.
Yeah.
All the emotions were composed.
A good idea. And you?
If you play solo, then maybe you more rely on your material because there is no one to cover your back in a way. So it's, I would not say more difficult, but you don't have musicians that are constantly pushing you in the other directions, so you're more your own direction in a way. Instant composing maybe, in a way. But of course you do your own material, which becomes, after years of doing it, part of your muscular memory in a way, because you do what you like.
Okay. As you said, your material. Are you getting sometimes bored by your material?
Yes, I am, but not tonight. But material is. We all have habits, and I definitely, from time to time, catch myself in a habit that I get annoyed with. On the other hand, it all depends on context. So there could even be things or sounds I'm a little bored with, but when I hear them in a new context, they suddenly get a new life, you could say.
Yeah, thank you.
Or they start living again.
Yeah, that's me. What my question. Again, do you have an antidote for this? So you mentioned it. Yeah, that's interesting. The antidote is it depends on the situation, context.
Yeah, and of course the situation.
Yeah.
I think for an electronic musician, it's especially dangerous to rely on the material because, I gave up playing solo, therefore, in 2004. And now I only play with other people. I prefer actually the format of a duo because it's the nicest way to communicate for me, like also in real life. And that changes the way how I treat, use and compose my material, and also makes me invent new material in the moment if it's necessary, or if it is often necessary to invent myself again.
That sounds great. Does it mean that you're sometimes getting surprised by yourself or by the situation?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the reason why you do it. Otherwise you would even get bored of duos or trios or quartets, but no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
I think with improvised music, it's always different, and I mean this. People have said for for decades, but of course it's about being in the now and transcend that. How can I say, the space and the sounds in the now, and that also, when we are succeeding, which is maybe not always, even all the material you might know very well, as I said before, it starts living again and be meaningful.
For you, as doing solo, is it? Is there something which leads you through the performance? Is there? I don't know if you can. What leads you? What makes you to say, "Oh, I'm here, and I'm not say naked," but what gives you this kind? Let's go on with myself.
Mistakes sometimes, and limitations also. Because if you limit yourself, you can find many things. I mean, if you limit yourself, you're not so much. You're forcing yourself also to develop something from this limitation. So it's a paradox in a way. If you limit yourself, you will find something new.
I understand. Does it mean very often you find performance? Yeah, I want to show you this, and I know this, and I have this also, and this. How important is listening and getting the atmosphere? And what are your not tricks or what are you doing to get in this mood, not to have the front cortex that makes show, just to get in the mood of, as you said, being present, listening?
I think that the answer is concentration. If you are concentrated on what you are doing, then you will not question yourself during the performance what you are doing, because you are focused really on let's say, sounds dramaturgy, because sound itself can be very interesting, can be very attractive. Of course, you listen to yourself, and I think that focus, it's I guess the answer.
You don't have to say anything if you don't want.
No, but transcendence I talked about, it's what is it? It's something I experience. Others might not experience it, but I don't know. Yeah, you could say that it's about focusing, but defocusing at the same time. If we are talking, if it was your side, because you're not trying to. You're trying to be in a space. You're not trying to. I mean, if it was the eyes, when you focus, it's like you wanna. It's like a hunter. Yeah. If it's very extreme, and that's not what it is. It's not that kind of focus. But it's definitely listening a lot. And I'm glad you mentioned mistakes, because if you are in that in that space, or had kind of gotten through something, then it's that gives you a lot of freedom, or feeling some kind of liberation, that you also might want to risk some stuff without being afraid of it. And that's important, I think.
That's what I wanted to
because
ask.
then you are going out in unknown territories, and that's really important for the music.
To take risk.
But not that now I want to risk. It's not like that.
I understand. Yeah.
Now I want to take a big risk.
This little
but
kind of
just to have the confidence also in the people you are playing with. And if you're playing solo, that can be harder, I know. But if you can get into that space, it's easier because you dare just go with what you hear or.
Maybe an easy question. How did you get into improvisation, or what made you to do improvised music? Or
I guess for me the answer is listening to other people doing it and being interested in it, and there's no religious thing. It's just interesting. I mean, and that's why I do it. It's also because I want to listen to other people. Like, that's the moment on stage. I listen to them and I try to build something constructive, which hopefully works. And and it's like in a dialogue with people, or in a conversation with more people. You try to be constructive, even if you might sit down with somebody who has a different opinion about things. You still try to make the best out of it. And of course, after a while you pick the people you play with better. So you're not an anti-militarist sitting with a general on stage, which can be interesting. And at the same time, I have to say, like, that's why I said it's nothing religious, because also improvised music can be played in a very boring way. I remember one concert, especially I played, unfortunately, in Nickelsdorf with Jim O'Rourke, Martin Sievert and Werner Dafeldecker, and we played Everybody So Safe. People loved it, and we came down from stage and hated it, and I swore myself never to do these things again.
Thank you.
Because it was just basically know what the people would like to hear, know what fits to the other comments, and playing that, and was boring.
Thank you for this. That's what I tried also to ask. That's very nice that you mentioned this, so that you're that open, because I had this feeling, you too, it's very subjective, two strong personalities show on stage, and both are strong to show this word vulnerability, I don't know, this kind of fragility that showed off, and that's very. Thank you that you mentioned this. Very to please people. That's what I also wanted to ask. Very often you try to please, or you fall into pleasing people, but afterwards you feel it's okay to please somehow if it fits to you. But thank you.
I mean, I do not mind to please myself. But I don't want to please anybody else. Either he's with me or he's not with me. It doesn't mean he's against me, but he's with me or not with me. That's it.
Very nice. Thank you. As I mentioned, I had this kind of feeling. Normally, when it doesn't work, I start to think, what is she doing? How the sounds are created? And for me, I have this kind of feeling when the story or the thing the people show me, I just follow them and I don't have any questions. Then for me improvisation works. This is as a listener. Then I don't have any question. I just follow. And I had this kind of feeling, just following. And I thought, I don't have questions. how it works, and that's maybe the point. What you say, that's not pleasing the people. That's just being and doing and interacting. Yeah. And I have a question, a special question. You start to sing normally. I had this experience, in the past, you created soundscapes. You were more a creator, and I had this feeling you were out of the sounds, emotional. And now it's just I ask if I'm right or wrong. You show up a little of yourself, or is this very cheap what I say? But you give more. It's like you made waves and others surfed on it. And now I have this subjective feeling. You also go into your rooms and show something of your personality. Is this too stupid? But
I'm not sure if I understand it correctly, because are you talking a timeline that you saw an earlier concert for me?
Yeah, it's maybe 10 years ago or something. And that was very, you were very, very concentrated and creative-ful, but now I get you a little bit as a person. Maybe it's...
That's a long story that I try to cut very short. So the story goes like this. I was singer in a rock band. That was my origin. I played also saxophone in this group, but I was singing. And then the East Bloc came down, and I lost my voice because I had nothing anymore to rely on against the capitalist world. It was not that I was a fanatic of the East, but it was important for me to have something that's against the West. And so I lost my voice, and in that time I started to play this electronic music. I switched from rock to being an electronic musician, and therefore also an improviser. And for many years I didn't sing because I didn't know what I could or should or would like to sing about. And then it came back, and I just remember the first time I ever did it again was in Berlin in a duo with Kai Fagashinsky. And Berlin is a very critical city, which is really nice, but also really hard sometimes. And we did it on a show, and the people we were the talk of the town for 3 weeks at least. Like, I sang a Johnny Cash song, and everybody's like, how can you sing into improvised music?
Yes.
And how can you sing Johnny Cash into improvised music? And so I did it and did it and did it, and I kind of make my way. And I still have projects where I do not sing and projects where I sing, and sometimes I call a booker, and the booker says, do you sing in this project? And I say yes, and then he says, no interest, thank you. And then I call the same booker and say, no, it's an instrumental thing. And then he says, yes, please come and play. So it's an ongoing struggle, and I like it a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go on. I have a question. You are also a composer, am I right? Or something?
Yeah.
Comparison. Maybe you also are making composed music. How is the way of experience? Oh, I'm sorry that it was... I stopped now because it's very... just a moment. It was super. Thank you that you said this, because I had this problem also. But yeah. I make an interview, so I go on. With this way of how to perform. If you have something composed where you know where it's going to be, how is this difference of doing the performance?
Yeah. The last years I've been, I've done that also earlier. So I've been trying to find ways that makes it possible for improvisers. Let's say it's mostly for bigger groups of improvisers. To find a way to make a score or a form and work with the material, which still allows a lot of freedom for the improvisers.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know how I should say it, but your question was there's a big difference. There's definitely a big difference in playing music where there's a fixed form and you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Of course, all music can be played in a way that you manipulate yourself into play it in a way as if you didn't know what was happening. So it's completely new. I guess, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same for actors who have to say the same sentence every night, maybe for 3 months. And you have to train somehow that ability to meet the situation. Every night should be different, even though it's the same play. And that is possible. Yes. But I've also written pieces that were more through composed, nearly always with some improvised open parts. And what can I say? As an improviser, I really love that we are creating the form and not knowing how it's gonna end or where we are going. At the same time, I also like to work with forms and sounds, but again, mostly in bigger groups because it can sometimes be needed. It starts when you are more than 5, and you know. And I've been playing in many big groups where it was also free improvised, which was fun. I mean, but I don't know. There can be a tendency, especially if it's more free jazz, that it's going in terms of form, it's going like up and down, and then it's building up and it's building down, or maybe it's just one big build up. Which can be great, but it can also be a little. Now I forgot the English word, but
overcrowded.
That it can also be overcrowded, but it can also be maybe a little boring because it's too easy to read. If there are not so many surprises.
You also said the difference between playing composed things and improvised things. You also, what are your experience? The difference in maybe I can explain. It's this kind of if you have something composed and you really learned it by heart, something like this, then you're really within it and you can swim in it, and you can create it, and then you can do it like did it the first time, and you find new things, variations. But there you are in a safe harbor somehow, yeah. This kind of this is you have the safe harbor. You can create in this safe harbor, but somehow sometimes for you, for example, you doing alone, you always have the risk you get your safe harbor, you lose your safe harbor somehow. How is it? Can you do you ever experience a different tension, a way of tension, or am I wrong? I don't know.
No, you're on the right track. I mean, if I rehearse with people who are not, who have not, let's say that I rehearse with a punk rock group, and they don't have, most of the musicians in this group, let's say, they don't have experience with this kind of music. Let's say free improvisation. I experienced that if we do, like if we rehearse one song 3 times in a row, I can hear differences. Even though it was perfect, for them it was like on the right spots, the sound was right, everything, but I can hear probably because of this experience of deep listening, of, trying to find another way of listening of the same song. And they don't have this, I mean, it's complicated. I don't know how to explain, but sometimes you work with people that are not so much into the detail of a sound or a beat, or
Okay, you mean because of improvisation you get this kind of listening, also if you make some scored things and you find, okay. I think maybe it's like in improvisation I have this kind of feeling I'm floating away and we lose the... If you want to stop, we can stop, because maybe it's not... But I try to ask it once more. For me, for example, when I was young, I had this kind of feeling I want to get rid of myself. Because of improvisation, I had this kind of feeling I can get rid of myself. Yeah? Although I'm doing something. Yeah? And this kind of possibilities, you can't get rid of yourself. As you said, you have your material with me, but maybe you can get rid of your way of thinking who you are, and it helps to free yourself and to get, maybe it's getting esoteric, but I'm not meaning it in an esoteric way. It is this kind of, for example, I see piano playing people, they learned their way of playing and then they start to improvise, and very often you find still it's in their brain, the automatic playing. And they can't get rid of it. They try to improvise freely or whatever is freely, but the in German Handwerk, I don't know in English, the way of you get it so in there how you do it. They have to start to do something different, and this is kind of, if you have this experience on improvisation, where you start to lose what you learned, you start to get a new perspective, get rid of yourself, get rid of the things you get learned, and to start something, as I see in the improvisation, when you have this kind of feeling, you create things. You don't have to destroy. Very often the development in the beginning, you start to improvise to destroy something. But if you get your patterns, your way of expression, then you communicate again. So now I talked a lot, but maybe can you tell me something? Is there something in you can say something to this, what I said?
So for me, it's kind of the opposite, because basically I work on my voice, which you could also translate into I work on my opinion. And if we have a discussion now as a picture again for the improvisation, then I want to bring in my opinion, and then I listen to you, and if you have something to say that is interesting to me, then I change the way how I maybe I even change my opinion, but I can at least change the way how I talk with you about a certain topic. And this is the interest. It's not getting rid of me, but to know who I am, and in the best moment to extend who I am through some other wisdom that comes in.
You're super. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's. I agree with you a lot. It's a double thing. You are in it. It's you who are playing, but it's also something else. And I don't know. I guess it's a mind thing. Playing a wind instrument is so connected with the breathing, or all instruments are, but it's of course it's what we use, and how can I say? One thing is to play very expressive with a lot of emotions, maybe, but the other thing is to, or another, how can I say, way of playing is I play a sound. Maybe I'm sitting at home practicing, and I often, especially during lockdown, because it was so silent, I became really interested in very silent sounds, because you hear a lot of details, and also got into some kind of meditative thing where you keep repeating maybe the same. It could be a multiphonic on the saxophone. Try just to make very small variations in how you start the sound, and how you can manipulate it in a soft way, but you cannot always control it, or you can make yourself not being able to control it, and that's interesting, I think, because suddenly it behaves in a way that you don't control, and it means that there's also something else which is of course the physicality of sounds. But for me that is a very nice, interesting way of working with my sound, because I also forget myself, and there's something otherness happening at the same time. But then when you are playing with others, with other people, or no, even in solo playing, because there's also a room, there's a space that's making a certain reverb or not, and which I think it's also important to let the room have a voice. So it's maybe not the question of your answer, because forgetting yourself can also be that you just wanna. There are many. I mean, you can also play really, really loud and powerful, and in a physical way, forgetting yourself in a group, for instance. That it's a way the same, but it's another way of getting there.
Nice. It's very nice answers. Maybe we leave it like this. Yeah. But I forgot. Sorry. Yeah. Do you want to say something? What I tried to explain?
What was the question? I forgot.
Repeat the question.
Repeat
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is your challenge.
This is my challenge.
What was it?
Once again, repeating. How do you like repeating yourself in improvisation, as he mentioned in the outside, talking about repeating? Yeah.
I mean, we are people. We cannot escape our habits.
Yeah.
But this musical situation, let's say, if I play solo, I'm trying to surprise myself in a way, because of as Lotte said, because of the room acoustics. Everything is different than at home. If you're practicing by yourself, it's boring. It's kind of boring. Of course, you have to do it, but because you have to know your tool. But suddenly, if you change the room, this tool sounds differently. And what was the question?
He asked me to repeat it once more.
Yeah.
I didn't fail to ask the question once more, but now I tried again.
Okay.
It was this kind of, you learned, for example, classical playing, yeah?
No.
Or no?
But no.
Somehow. But you get some patterns. Maybe let's say you get patterns in your head and you want to get rid of your patterns.
This was the question.
How
Yeah,
this was
now
the
I know.
question. Somehow.
Yeah. And you talked about the construction and deconstruction of patterns.
Yeah, this kind of.
For me, improvised music was never deconstructing something. You know, it was
Okay,
always to construct something.
That's
So I
interesting.
never was part of this, let's say, iconoclastic shit. We are doing something which is really important. Forget about history. No,
Okay.
it's just music. You know,
Why I ask this? Maybe that. For me, this is kind of improvisation. I say something, you say something very interesting, you say something very interesting, you say something very interesting. This gives me kind of feeling, it was just my point, and I get a better view of everything. So maybe I like it. Maybe I can tell you, I always had these problems with a piano. There are tunes in between, and I hated it, for example. Then I opened it, and I looked down, and there I didn't know anything about improvisation. Then I tried to tune it, and then it because I was searching for sounds which are not here. And this is why I ask this kind of question. For me, for example, maybe I talk too much of myself. I was looking for something like you're in a country, you live in a country, or a language, and there is something missing. You don't have words which are here, and there's no language. And this kind of opening in improvisation, new rooms, new kinds of words which you don't have words for it, but you open something, and you feel like home. That's what I saw. I had this first experience. You're at home, both of you, and this is your home. And I say, welcome. It's nice to be at your place. That's what I somehow tried to ask with patterns you learned, and you don't feel at home. So in the beginning, maybe you're right to deconstruct, but to build new bridges, your own buildings. So it's hard. I'm sorry for the questions, but maybe we got somewhere. Maybe we stop here. Thank you very much. Sometimes it's like in improvisation, you have to stop. We had to stop 10 minutes before, then it was nice, but now it's like when you're playing, why didn't they stop? So I'm sorry, now I stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you.